All right, and we're back. Wow, okay. I had an idea of what the Great War was about. I couldn't quite not again. I couldn't quite understand how the suppression of art, self-expression, and individualism started the Great War, but now things are much clearer. Um, because of fear, it started with suppressing emotions in Mantle, because Atlas, I don't think at the time Atlas was established yet. Atlas came afterwards, because Atlas is the academy, right? Right, right. That's right. Okay. So, so Mantle and Minstrel, they had a thing going on. Since Mantle was advanced, rugged, surviving in the harsh conditions, Mistral decided to provide them with support in exchange for technological advances, resources, and I guess tutorials, tools, tips, and techniques on how to survive in the harsh northern part of their country. All right. And then the double standard of having the expressions and the arts and the freedoms suppressed on the outer cities, but not in the main cities because no, no. That's not for us. We'll do it on the outside because that's what you want, sure, but that doesn't apply for me. So that double standard shows the I guess hypocrisy of it. Yeah, okay, we'll comply, sure. You guys can't do that anymore. No more, no more, no more emotions. But then they don't apply it to themselves. Yeah, that is the definition of hypocrisy. Hypocrite. Excuse me. Um, do as I say, not as I do. Okay, and then Mistral was the first one that crossed the ocean towards the continent of Sarnus, I think it's called. Um, which is interesting. They seem to be power hungry in a way because they were expanding throughout the entire continent. They took a power, they took around and conquered all the territories around. And that's what Mistral was doing. And then they started pushing outward into the other continent. So they were the ones that came in first. Now, the the King of Vale, what Crow called the Warrior King, the King of Vale was he had good intentions. He believed in humanity as a whole, it would seem, because despite everybody pressuring him, excuse me, despite everybody, all the citizens pressuring him and demanding that he push back the settlers, he he declined. He focused mostly on making sure that or he tried. Not he focused. He tried to allow them, to allow everybody to get along. Um, Granted, Mistral had its view on how life should be. And like Crow said, they believe that their way was better, right? So clearly, if you have settlers settling on your land, and you also have settlers from your land, and they have expressions and emotions and arts and whatever going on, and then you have settlers over here that don't believe in that, or try to abide by the new doctrine that Mantle has incorporated, it will create conflict because I'm looking for a good analogy here. If you're trying to mix uh, somebody who appreciates loudness and somebody who appreciates quietness in the same area, Have you ever had a neighbor that plays loud music because he loves being loud? We have a lot of them here in Puerto Rico, and since that's how kind of I grew up in a loud environment, I'm okay tuning it out. I'm able to just like not be bothered by it. Um, it's it's what I'm used to, I guess you can call it. I don't know how else to explain it, but I can hear music really loud in the background, the boom 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 boom, or that boom 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 boom. I can hear that in the background, and it doesn't bother me. I'm okay with it. I'll be like, wow, somebody's having a party. Okay, and I'm okay with that. I will have a problem, however, if the music played has like really explicit lyrics, and especially since our son speaks English, those lyrics are coming through, and then I'll be like, okay, that's an issue. Let me go have a talk with the neighbors. But where was I going with this? Okay, yeah. So I don't personally have a problem with it because it's what I'm used to. So I consider that the people of Vale, expression loud, and then the people of Mistral, they're more like my wife. She grew up in a quiet environment. She grew up, you know, very calm, very peaceful. And when she hears the music, she's like, oh my goodness, Nase, Daddy, Nase. Why those neighbors are being so loud? No respect. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. They're just having their fun. No, but they're being too loud. And I'm like, okay, you want me to talk to them? She's like, no, no, don't worry about it. It's just that I don't get it. It's nuts. How can they be so loud and not worry about bothering other people? And and I'm like, well, it's our culture. We are loud. We have music playing loudly a lot of times. It's kind of like what we do. And then she turns around and she says, "Oh, I'm so happy you're not a loud person," which I'm not. I'm not really that loud. I don't play music all the time. I do, but headphones or other things. But I don't have my speakers booming music all the time. So these two differences in culture is what I'm trying to get at. These two differences in culture is possible that if there is no bridge of communication, like the one that my wife and I share, that even though we come from different cultures, which sometimes she finds rude, disrespectful, and I guess inconsiderate, I see it in a different light. I see it as totally normal, completely okay, fine, and then under normal circumstances, if we don't have that bridge of communication between us, chances are we would clash. We would just not understand each other. And maybe it might take a scenario like, oh, I don't know, like, oh, how can you be so inconsiderate being so loud all the freaking time? And then I'll be like, oh, well, it's not being inconsiderate. I'm just doing my thing. And you're like, oh, but it's bleeding into my territory and it's really bothersome. And I'll be like, oh, well, would you like me to play something else? I don't know, you know. And eventually, like, if we're not able to bridge with communication between these two parties, then chances are it'll clash and we'll have conflict. So I'm guessing that was the problem that started developing. The people of Mantle were probably trying to enforce the no emotion, no arts, no expression, no nothing scenario, you know? They're trying to impose their culture around their settlements, but then you have other settlements from another culture doing their own thing, having parties, perhaps, I don't know, having parties, loud music, laughing, painting, whatever. And the people, maybe fear was an issue or getting upset about it. And they're like, oh my God, those idiots out there, they're being so loud. They're playing great music and having delicious food and laughing and having a great time. They're just calling the Grim. We gotta stop something. We can't have Grim on top of us right now. That just can't happen. Let's go out there and let's tell them to shut up. So you go out there and then, hey, be quiet. And then probably the people from Vale are like, oh, get out of our land. This is our continent. Beat it. And then, things turn sour. So I'm guessing that's how it might have happened. Apparently there was riots, and no one knows who fired the first shot, but apparently the riot turned into a conflict, and that was the first battle of the Great War. Um, so interesting to consider the fact that there was failure in communication on this part. Now, is it the Warriors King responsibility to create a communication bridge between both cultures? That's debatable. That's debatable because I feel as if, you know, sure, you can welcome them into your land, but you need to make people understand that there's differences in how things are done, and the important thing, the best thing to accomplish from all of this is to respect each other's differences. And in Spanish we have a saying that says el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz, which translates to respect to others' rights is peace, you know. So in a way, this kind of like comes back to, you have the right to be happy, you have the right to have peace of mind, um, to not be under threat. Sure. I don't know what are the rights of el respeto al derecho humano. Yeah, the derecho is right. Human right. There you go. Human right. Um, Respecting human rights is peace. So when you treat each other as human beings, there's peace. There should be no cause for conflict. I don't like this. I'm sorry you don't like this, but it's what I do. I understand. Even though I don't like it, I'll try to find a way to compromise or something with you, and things will meld. Um, so again, is it the responsibility of the warrior king to establish that link between? Was the person in charge of Minstrel a woman? It looked like a woman. So between the queen of Mistral and the king of Vale, establish a communication bridge so that there's understanding on all levels. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because somebody's always going to be upset. Somebody's always going to be not happy. And the reason it happens is because they feel misunderstood. They feel like their voice hasn't been heard. Because when the mandate comes down, and you're like, I don't agree with it because I have my reasons, but you don't have a way to voice your reasons, so you stay bitter and you stay like, nobody's listening to me. I know the truth. I know how I can change things. I know how I can make things better. And that stays with you. And then when you see a chance, you're like, okay, that's it. It's time to take action. I gotta do this. And maybe he was the first person that fired the first shot. Ow. Hey, who did that? you know? So there needs to be a lot of awareness, is what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to find the right words. There needs to be a lot of awareness for for differences to be able to coexist together. Um, so yeah, I don't blame the Warrior King, um, but he's not completely absolved neither. There should have been a compromise or a better way to deal with it. Um, but you know what they say: hindsight is 2020. um, so we can't criticize and scrutinize things that have already happened. But we can use the example to prepare ourselves better for the future. Now that's something you could definitely do. Learn. um, so yeah. Anyway, so conflict started, and immediately Mantle is like, "What? The person that gives me, I don't know what it was that Mantle was giving. I mean, Mistral was giving Mantle, but clearly he felt urged to defend Mistral, and so they did. They came forth, and there was just conflict everywhere. 10 years. Wow, that's insane. 10 years of conflict. Bah, that's something. Yeah. So, so then Vacchio, trying to be neutral, started getting pressured by Mistral and Mantle, the M's. And then they said, all right, that's it. Get out. Vale, if I don't defend you, these two pineapples are gonna come here knocking next, and I don't want that. So that's it, buddy. I got your back. Let's go. And sides were formed. Considering that well actually well Vale and hey I see what's going on here. Veil and vacuo, Mistral and mantle, M versus V. What does that stand for? M and V. Is there a connection here to something that's important? The V's versus the M's. I don't know, but it's interesting. That mantle and minstrel and veil and vacuo. I don't know. Is there something here? Perhaps, but I'm not making a connection with it right now. Yeah, I got nothing. All right, so the V's sided together and the M's were trying to cut the V's supply line of dust. And the Warrior King was there and he decimated the entire enemy force with a single blow. Now, if that's not some sort of wizard, spring maiden, fall maiden, winter maiden, summer maiden, or a silver-eyed warrior, it's one of these six categories. Then there's something else that we don't know about yet. But clearly, he commands a lot of power. And everybody admitted defeat. Wow. Sorry. Sorry, boss. Oh, our bad. We'll do what you say. That was nuts. And they got together, and again, in his mind of consideration for others, he's like, no, no, I'm not gonna lead you guys. I'm not gonna be the person in charge because it's not gonna fix things. Let's all work together, which is what should have happened 10 years ago. But hey, here we are now. Let's all work together. Let's all work together and let's make sure that we, as the human race, survive, endure, and keep moving forward. You know, and that's what happened in the island of Vital. And hence the Vital Festival was created in order to celebrate all the kingdoms coming together after the Great War. Now, where were the faunas? Clearly, they had a high concentration in vacuo because the faunus queen, or the vacuo queen, was a faunus. So I'm guessing during the time they worked together for the Great War. But how did... I'm a little bit confused in the timeline. I'm guessing the Faunus already had their island before the Great War, before all the kingdoms fought against each other. Menagerie decided to like not get involved. Perhaps. I'm not sure. I'm slightly confused on the progression. If the World of Remnants have been an order of events, then clearly Menagerie was created first, And then the Great War happened. So where were they in all of this? Setting up their land, perhaps? Or maybe they just didn't want to get involved. Nobody thought the Faunus could bring something useful to the table, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know where they were or what they were doing. But if I am to understand this correctly, the island of Menagerie was already created before the First War, or the Great War. So I'm going to go with that one for now. Yeah, and then the academies were created. And the king put his trusted followers in charge of each of the academies so that they can train everybody how to fight. I guess that's it. Well, at least now we know what led to the Great War. So let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's leave it at that. So, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate all your support and everything that you do. You guys are truly awesome. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.